Welcome to the Legends in English, a channel where history inspires, great lives come alive, and you can improve your English through the listening and learning. Today, we bring you the story of man who changed the world with knowledge, not with books, but with patience. He lived a very simple life, yet his ideas were so powerful that they shook the foundation of society. His name is Socrates, the great philosopher of ancient Greece, who believed that wisdom began with curiosity and the search for truth. Join us as we explore the inspiring journey of Socrates and at the same time practice simple English listening that will help you grow in the both knowledge and language. The man who shook the world with situation. Have you ever heard about a man who made the whole world think just by asking questions? Nearly 2500 years ago, in ancient Greece, a land of five mountains and a deep sea, where people believed gods themselves spoke throughout the nature, there was a city of beauty, art, and wisdom, a city called Athens. Athens was alive with music, market, and the voice of its people. Philosophers, artists, and teachers walked in streets, sharing ideas and stories. It was a place where mind could grow and questions could be asked freely if you were brave enough to seek the truth. A search for truth. In Athens, people worshipped God with closed eyes. Kings valued power more than truth. Society followed a tradition without questioning. But in the middle of this blind faith, one man walked barefoot in search of truth. He did not want money. He did not want fame. He only wanted truth. He had no book in his hand, no throne under his feet. Yet his questions were sharp like swords. His silence spoke louder than many words. He was not writer, not priest, not a king. He was only seeker of truth. And he taught humility, the beginning of wisdom in the acceptance of ignorance. That man was Socrates. Socrates was not an ordinary philosopher. He was a thought. He was a revolution, a voice that still echoes in education, morality, and self-knowledge. He reminded the world, you cannot be wise until you accept that you know nothing. History repeats the courage of principle. Not long ago, in Indian history, just 500 years ago, we show another similar story. In the movie of Chhawa, we saw how Aurangzeb captured Sambhaji Maharaj alive and gave him three choices. Accept Islam, order the Maratha army to surrender, and accept the Mughal rule. For 40 days, Sambhaji Maharaj was tortured, but he never gave up his faith, his ideas, or his principles. History remembers such a man. Their stories become a legend. Their sacrifice inspires generations. Because history is not made by those who bow down, but by those who stand firm. Almost 2500 years earlier, in their hands, Socrates also faced similar choices. On one side, a cup of poison, on the other, an apology for something he did not believe was wrong. Evening was failing in the court cell of Athens. Silence spread, but hearts were trembling. In the center sat Socrates, no fear on his face, no anger in his eyes, only a calm and smile, like a man going to meet an old friend, not late. The soldiers entered with a cup of hemlock poison. His hands were shaking because this was not a common prisoner. This was a Socrates, the man whose patience pierced souls, the man whose courage challenged kings, the man who chose death over dishonor, truth over compromise. The cup was placed in front of him. Everyone in the room held their breath. Socrates stretched out and, without shaking, he lifted the cup. His beloved students were crying. Plato's eyes were wet with tears. But Socrates' voice was steady, unbroken, fearless. Do not be afraid. Death is not the end. It is the beginning of Saul's journey, the journey where the tasting of truth comes to an end. This body is only a prison, and today I am becoming free. He touched the poison to his neck. He drank it all in one day, calmly, completely, as it was not a difficult task, but the first step of a spiritual journey. Socrates and his principles. Socrates never compromised with his ideas. He never compromised with his principles. He never compromised with his thought. He did not bow down before blind faith. He did not surrender to life. For him, the path of truth was deep, but the most precious. Perhaps that is why, even after centuries, we still remember him. We still read about him. We still try to understand him. We still want to learn something from his life. He showed us that courage is not just fighting with weapons, but standing firm for what is right. He taught that honesty, wisdom, and justice are what more than life itself. The birth of thinker. Socrates was born in 469 BC in Athens. His father's name was Socrates, a sculptor. He carved gods out of stone. Maybe that is why his son Socrates used tools of logic and reason to carve a statue of human soul. His mother's name was Henriette, a midwife. She helped other women give birth every day. But one day, she gave birth to a child who would one day give birth to new ideas for all humanity. From a young age, Socrates was curious. He asked a question about life, about fairness, about God. Why is it right to help someone? Why is it wrong to lie? He would ask. He watched his father save with patience, and he watched his mother bring life into the world. The small lessons taught him about care, God, and truth. Even as a boy, he did not care for toys and games. He cared for ideas, for understanding, for truth. He wanted to know the meaning of life, the meaning of goodness, and the meaning of courage. Simple life, simple questions, big thought. Childhood of questions. His home was simple, but full of thought. Among his father's hammer and chisel, he learned meaning of balance and faith. From his mother's care, he understood the depth of human nature. From childhood, he was not like ordinary children. When children play with sticks, Socrates looked at the stars and asked, Why? Why does all exist? When his mother said, Eat your food, he asked, Is this for my body or for something else inside me? Something that thinks, something that knows. People laughed at him. They called him strange. They called him crook. But time did not know that. This crook boy would strengthen the thinking of the whole world, the soldiers and the philosophers. Socrates was born in a mud house, but this thought flew higher than the sky. He looked ordinary, short hair, flat nose, barefoot, long hair, and often unshaven. But behind this simple face lived an extraordinary soul. Socrates also served in the military. He fought in many battles. He was a brave soldier. Yes, Socrates was a soldier on the battlefield and a philosopher in the world of ideas, a rare combination, a warrior who never gave up, and a thinker who inspired generations. He had a very different kind of followers, not like today's social media followers, but real followers. In the street of Athens, wherever he went, the young people gathered around him to listen to his arguments, to listen to his philosophy, to listen to his questions. Socrates did not ask simple questions. He asked extraordinary questions. Questions that shook the mind. Questions that forced people to think. Like, is justice only the wish of the powerful? What is the true knowledge? Do we really know anything at all? Such a question made everyone silent. Such a question opened the doors of thinking. Athens, the center of knowledge and art. At that time, Athens was the heart of learning. Democracy was beginning. Drama, science, mathematics, and philosophy were rising. But Socrates saw something else too. He saw the darkness hidden inside the shining one. He saw the pride of hell's knowledge. He saw the show off. He saw the hunger of power. And then he decided, I will keep asking. I will keep questioning until the truth is revealed. From a cultural son to warrior ideal, he was just the son of simple sculpture, but he became a warrior of ideas. A revolution had begun. Socrates used to say, the only true wisdom is in knowing that I know nothing. This sounds simple, but when you look deeper, it changes the whole way of thinking. Socrates was not a trustee of knowledge as most people are. He did not collect hats or titles. He himself becomes a part of knowledge. He taught that learning is not about memorizing, but about asking questions and searching for the truth. Every day, Socrates walked the streets of Athens. He spoke to everyone, rich and poor, young and old. He asked them questions about justice, courage, and life. Some people loved him for it, many others were irritated, but he never stopped. He believed that a mind that questions grows stronger. He believed that thinking deeply is the greatest courage of all. Throughout this conversation, he showed that ideas can be more powerful than armies. His words and questions become his weapon. Some famous stories of Socrates. Socrates and his wife Xantippe. Socrates' wife Xantippe was known for her strong temper. One day, during an argument, they became very angry. They even threw a pot of water on Socrates, but Socrates did not shout or fight. He quietly sat there, smiled, and said, first the thunder and then rain. He stayed calm, even in anger and chaos. He showed the patience, wisdom, and self-control. Moral of the story: anger and storm are the part of life. Stay calm, respond with patience, and do not let emotions control your actions. Second, the story of three filters. Think before you speak. One day a man ran to Socrates. He said, I want to tell you something about your friend. Socrates asked, is what you are going to say 100% true? The man was silent. Then Socrates asked again, is it something good? Will it do anything good? The man was still silent. Socrates asked one more time, is it useful for me? Will it help me in any way? The man remained silent. Then Socrates said, if it is not true, if it is not good, if it is not useful, then there is no meaning in saying it or hearing it. This story is famous even today as a three-filter test. Socrates believed an unexamined life is not worth living. He never brought books, but today he is still living. He never built temples, but today he is still worship. He never carried weight, but his revolution of thought is still alive. That was Socrates, a man who lived by patience, a man who searched for truth, a man who lit the flame of philosophy for the whole world, the man who taught the world to think. He taught the world how to think. He taught the people how to ask questions, questions that go straight into the heart of thought. His questions are still as real and powerful today as they were 2,500 years ago. How would you define justice? Is a good action done only because of fear? Is the majority always right? These were not a simple question. These were a deep question. And these were the same question that Socrates asked 2,500 years ago. Question that still challenge our democracy today. Socrates wanted people to think for themselves. He did not give answers. He made people look inside their own mind. He believed that real wisdom comes when you understand yourself and your actions. Every question he asked was a challenge to think, a challenge to reflect, a challenge to be honest with oneself. Even today, in a school, courts, and debates, people still use the same method. Socrates showed that thinking is more important than following blindly. His questions remind us to never stop learning, never stop asking, and never stop searching for truth. The Socrates method, the art of asking questions. This was his way of teaching. Today, we call it Socrates method. Ask a question, get an answer, then ask another question and then answer, and again and again. Slowly, the other person began to doubt his own knowledge, and from that doubt, real knowledge is born. Socrates said, I do not teach anyone anything, I only make them think. He took knowledge out of books and brought into the street, the crossroad, and the marketplace. Truth, morality, and the voice of the soul. These were the pillars of his philosophy. And he proved one thing. The best person is one who accepts his ignorance. I know that I know nothing. This was his humility. This was his death. This was Socrates. Even today, teachers, leaders, and thinkers use this method to inspire learning. It is not about giving answers, but about opening mind. That is why the Socrates method is still alive, still powerful, and still guiding humanity. Socrates' conversation with young men. Young man said, Socrates, you always ask questions, but don't you know anything yourself? Socrates smiled and replied, maybe that is my knowledge, that I know nothing. The young man said, but is justice not what the king wants? Socrates replied, then if tomorrow the king does injustice, will that also be called justice? If justice depends on a person or on an eternal truth? A young man thinking, maybe justice means what is right for everyone. Socrates said, and now you have started thinking. That is education. A man asked about death. Is it right to fear of death? Socrates replied, no. Death is either a deep sleep or a new journey of the soul. In both cases, why fear? We don't even know what comes after death. Maybe death is even more beautiful than life. Socrates believed that the person who is not satisfied with he already has will never be satisfied with what he wants to achieve. Athens, a democracy with limits. At that time, Athens had a democracy, but it was not a full democracy because not everyone had a right to vote. Even such a system, Socrates thought, deeply influenced the social and political life of Athens. And this is a true even today. When truth collides with power, the first person to stand in the courtroom is always the truthful man. The questions of Socrates were not just questions, they become the weapon strong enough to shake the foundation of power. He forced the youth to think. He exposed the blind faith hidden behind the temple. He revealed the deception hidden in the words of leaders. Slowly, one part of Athenian society turned against him. They began to think, this man is corrupting the youth. This man is insulting our gods. The trial of Socrates. And finally, in 399 BCE, when Socrates was 70 years old, a trial was held against him. Socrates was accused of three things. One, misleading the youth. Second, creating false gods and insulting the real gods. Three, disobeying the law of the state. In the court, a jury of 500 citizens were present. Socrates was given a chance to defend himself. They told him, ask for forgiveness, leave Athens, save your life. But Socrates refused. He did not beg for mercy. His disciples were crying. His friends were begging. Master, just once, say sorry. Your life will be saved. Run away, we will make a way for you. But Socrates said, if I run away and save my life, I will do the very thing I always fought against injustice. Accepting injustice is not in my nature. And he added, one day everyone must die, but not everyone dies for justice. He declared, even if you let me lie, I will continue what I have always done. I will keep asking questions. I will keep waking people up. Socrates did not bow down. He chose truth over lies. He chose justice over fear. The decision came. The verdict was death. Finally, he was sentenced to death. Socrates calmly accepted the punishment. Surrounded by his students, Socrates took the cup of poison in his hand. He drank a cup of poison called hemlock. Even in his last moment, he remained fearless, teaching that truth is more important than life. The poison slowly paralyzed his body. First his legs became numb, then his body, and finally silence. Socrates died. But that day, only his body died. Socrates became immortal. His disciples carried his name, his thoughts, his questions. Plato brought down his ideas. Aristotle transformed them into logic and science. The Stoic philosophers turned them into self-control and inner strength. And even today, wherever someone dares to ask a question, wherever someone dares to fight for truth, wherever someone has the courage to say, I know that I know nothing, that Socrates lied. His students, he himself never brought anything, but his disciple brought for him. The mark of the true teacher is not how much he speaks or writes, but how many disciples he creates. Disciples who continue to speak for him, even after centuries. His words gave birth to many students, whose influence is still alive in every branch of philosophy. Plato, Xenophon, Aristides, among them, Plato was the most famous. When Socrates died, Plato was present. He recorded his teacher's idea in the form of dialogue and gave them to the world in his book, The Apology. Plato brought the last word of Socrates in the courtroom. In the Republic, he developed Socrates' thought on justice, the states, and the ideal society. Plato called his teacher Socrates a flame of ideas, a flame that could never be extinguished. Socrates was not just a man, he was a mirror. He was not just a teacher, he was a question that's still alive in every mind that dares to think. Xenophon, the soldier's historian and disciple. Xenophon was not only a soldier and historian, but also one of the beloved students of Socrates. He also preserved the conversation of Socrates in his writing. His book, Memorabilia, shows the life of Socrates from a practical and moral point of view. Xenophon described that Socrates was not only a philosopher, he was also a sensitive guy, a true mentor, a friend to his students. Socrates never forced his idea on his students. He only planted the seed of thought, and his students grew that seed into different trees. Yes, they grew it like a great onion tree. Some wrote about morality, some wrote about society, some wrote about the soul, but everyone keeps saying only one thing. Whatever we are, it is the reflection of the great soul whom the world knows as a Socrates. Words never die, ideas never end, and the one who lives for truth, he keeps speaking even after death. Xenophon made sure that the world would remember the real Socrates, not only as a thinker, but as a man of kindness and wisdom. His writings tell us that Socrates lived simply, loved honesty, and valued friendship more than wealth over power. The legacy of great philosophers. Socrates proved that eternal truth. The body dies, but words remain. And when words are true, they echo for centuries. They echo like Socrates. Socrates never brought a single, but his ideas shaped the world. Its student Plato recorded his thoughts, and Plato's student Aristotle carried them forward. Together, they become the foundation of Western philosophy. Even today, 2,500 years later, his questions still guide us. His teachings were not only about knowledge, but also about how to live a good and honest life. He taught courage, humility, and importance of asking a question. People around the world still study his lessons. Socrates showed that one person with truth and wisdom can change the world forever. His voice throughout his students and their writing continue to inspire millions to think deeply, to question, and to live wisely. He reminded us unexamined life is not a broad claim. Wonder is the beginning of wisdom. Be as you wish to seem. He who is not content with what he has will not be content with what he wants. Socrates died, but Socrates never died. His questions live, his truth live, his wisdom live. Socrates taught us, do not just accept what others ask questions, search for truth, and above all, live an honest life because wisdom begins with wonder. This was the life of Socrates, a man whose thoughts still guide us today. You were watching the Legends in English, where great stories inspire you and also help you practice English listening and learning.